afternoon. I was going to say late, but we're earlier because of the cancellation. And we're going to take you out of the cemeteries into another, let's get back to where we started, and into another area. And we want to thank Jason and the National Park Service for this opportunity to present this talk and organizing this interesting conference. This is the item that we're going to be discussing today. This is a Doric marble column surmounted by a bronze sundial. It was commissioned by the Sylvania Electric Corporation of Salem, Massachusetts. It honors 8 fallen servicemen. Whoop. Man, this thing's tricky. Employees who perished during World War II. The 3.5-foot marble memorial, now nearing 70 years old, was situated on expansive lawn flanking the Sylvania building. It was reverently dedicated in May 26th of 1946, with a well-attended ceremony was described in the 1946 Memorial Day issue of The Beam, the company newsletter. This newsletter is the only known documentation of the original memorial. The Sylvania manufacturing facility was located on Loring Avenue in Salem, Massachusetts. And the Sundial Memorial stood on the lawn in front of the building's main entrance. This building has been adaptively reused by Salem State University, the new owner, as the Bertillon School of Business, and predominantly flanks the entrance to the central campus. The book is making it move, that's the problem. So I'm going to hold it up here. The marble of the original memorial is identified as coming from Proctor, Vermont, probably from the nearby West Rutland quarry. It's a very fine-grained marble, similar in appearance and composition to marble that's quarried in the Lee, Massachusetts. It has curved marble stepping stones that surround the memorial. The design follows the classic Doric order, starting at the bottom with a base, above this a plinth, and a fluted column, and almost all the way up is an area called a sinkage, which is a deep groove near the top, and above that is the neckage, and then the echinus, which includes a series of grooves representing a flowing band or a ribbon. Then there's an abacus and the plate on top, which carries the bronze sundial. From this auspicious beginning, the memorial suffered a series of unfortunate adventures, probably due in part to the fact that it was quite small size. At some unclear period, the memorial was inadvertently damaged by earth-moving equipment, which resulted in it being removed and stored in various locations, both indoor and outdoor. Finally, the surviving lower 3 elements and damaged stepping stones came to rest in an on-campus warehouse at the university. All else, including the sundial, had disappeared, and this is where we caught up with the story. In 2010, the stars began to align for a reemergence of the memorial sundial. Several key entities have resolved to rescue and conserve the memorial, And this group was led by Salem State University, Salem City Council, the Salem Veterans Council, and a well-known local contractor. Fannin-Lehner Preservation Consultants was then engaged to undertake the project from the damaged elements, to take the project from the damaged elements to in the warehouse to the reinstallation of a restored monument on the grounds of the university, culminating in a public rededication. Fannin-Lehner has performed cemetery conservation in Salem burying grounds for many years. Fannin-Lehner formed a team of a contractor specializing in historic masonry, a stone fabrication specialist who has worked extensively in historic stone and marble structures, and the local contractor already mentioned who would help with heavy lifting, the site work, and the foundation. Among the tasks were securing a replacement sundial and transport back and forth to the marble workshop. There the plan was to clean and conserve the existing stable elements and replicate missing ones. Then the memorial had to be returned to the campus and installed. A detailed conservation plan was to be prepared for it, and this is the cover of it. Additional problems to solve at the time were, where was the memorial to be located? The method of installation and the landscaping. A work schedule also had to be developed because of the scheduling of a rededication at a convenient time for the university. As you've seen in the warehouse images, of the original 7 elements, only the memorial base, the plinth, the column, and 4 damaged stepping stones were extant. Missing elements were the echinus, the abacus, the plate at the top which held the sundial, and of course the sundial itself, which had disappeared long ago. The first major problem to be solved was to obtain an appropriate sundial sized to the proportions of the memorials. As it turned out, the problem of the missing sundial was providentially solved. A Salem City Councilor realized he had a bronze sundial and its gnomon that had been cast by his father during the Second World War and had been stored in his home for many years. This sundial proved to be a perfect fit, and it cheerily reads, as you can see, "I count none but sunny hours." With that issue solved, we turned to another problem. Where was the monument to be set before it departed to the Tower Stone Marble Shop in Berkshire Mountains of western Massachusetts? The obvious possibility was again in front of the Bertillon building, but after discussion it was felt that the site was too vast for the small monument. At that point, somebody looked over at the building across the way, which is the police station that flanks the other side of the entrance. And after examining it, we felt that it was already landscaped. It was easily accessible and visible and was quite secure since it sat right outside of the police station. And so this was the chosen site for the memorial. Finally, on March 2012, the memorial and its stepping stones resumed their journey for conservation, loaded on a pallet and separated by pads and rugs and cardboard. It was transferred to the historic masonry contractor's truck for the drive to the Tower Stone site in the Berkshires. You take this. This is changing on its own.
Really? Okay. The original mission of Tower Stone was the recreation of the missing abacus echinus and top plate, as well as conserving the memorial base, the plinth, and the column. However, two more preservation issues immediately surfaced. It was known that the marble plinth between the memorial base and the column had a crack, rather large crack. And Vern Tower of Tower Stone became increasingly concerned that even repaired, it would be not strong enough to bear the considerable weight of the reassembled memorial. The decision was made to replicate it. The second challenge was with the stepping stones, which were broken, some with missing fragments. But all these could be repaired. The larger issue was whether the repaired 2-inch thick stepping stones were too compromised to be walked and stood on, as they were originally made too thin. Our team felt that the stepping stones were meant to invite viewers, and it was decided to exactly replicate them in a sturdier form, 3 inches thick, to ensure their long-term use and survival. Our April 2012 visit to Tower Stone found Vern Tower working on the recreation of the new stepping stones. Tower was observed cutting the stepping stones with a large diamond-bladed circular saw, then doing the final shaping using air-powered grinders. It was at this visit the most difficult preservation decision was made. It concerned the vast difference in color between the conserved original elements and the newly created ones. After extensive discussion, it was decided to apply a finish on all recreated elements of the memorial to simply approximate that of the column and the memorial base, both of which were heavily weathered. Here is the new echinus treated with Lipton's tea. Meanwhile, at a metal shop, 2 stainless steel threaded rods were fabricated to replace the rusted iron rod. The completed elements of the sundial and the stepping stones were transported back to Salem State for temporary storage until a foundation was finished and the sundial could be reassembled. It was now time to proceed with the foundation, an 18-inch diamond diameter footed sonotube, I think commonly known as a mushroom. And this was finally accomplished. An earlier attempt had run into an unmapped concrete drainage system. The pallet with the elements of the sundial was brought to the site, but a new glitch. The lower stainless steel threaded rod was found to be 5 inches short of the necessary length. Although the rod was the specified length, it had been placed too low in the concrete. Welding a second rod to the top of the existing rod solved this problem. 2 weeks later, the erection of the sundial proceeded once more. The welded pin, now the proper length, and the elements of the sundial were carefully assembled on the foundation. The large memorial base was set on the foundation first and leveled utilizing lead shims. A bonding agent, PL3H Loctite, a polyurethane, was used to bond the large pin in the foundation to the large and small bases in the column of the sundial. The large base and column were lifted into place using nylon straps attached to the bucket of a skid loader. All the remaining elements were set by hand. The echinus, abacus, and top plate were leveled using plastic setting cushions. These elements were set using the second stainless steel threaded pin placed in the top of the column and extending into the bottom of the top plate. A horizontal sundial, but now, time for the sundial at last. A horizontal sundial must point towards true north to tell the time correctly. In Salem, Massachusetts, the magnetic variation between magnetic north and true north is slightly over 15 degrees west. The pinhole locations were marked for drilling, and the sundial was set with the gnomon pointing true north. The excavation around the foundation was backfilled, and a heavy mulch bed was placed on the fill to the desired grade. The marble stepping stones were installed on a deep bed of pea stone. The World War II Memorial Sundial was dedicated on September 17th, 2012, in a ceremony well attended by political notables, Salem State University, Salem Veterans Council, and other invited guests. The president of the university, Patricia McGuire-Maservey, spoke movingly on the importance of remembering those who died for our freedom, evoking the images of the fallen men. Making the occasion even more memorable, members of some of the families of the 8 veterans also attended the dedication, including this elderly veteran. But wait, there's more. In October 2013, last fall, a year later, we were stunned to receive a telephone call from the Chief of Staff to the President of the university. Due to the unexpected relocation of a planned dormitory, the sundial had to be removed. Oops, that's right, I forgot all of that. That's what I want you to come up with. Yeah, okay.
Just get on this side. As you might expect, we had substantial discussion on how we might remove it with the original team, who were also thunderstruck to find that this permanent memorial lasted 13 months. We all agreed that we should do an investigation of the foundation to see if maybe we could just take the whole thing out of the ground and move it to a new location. And in order to do so, we had to jackhammer, because it was now November and it had been extremely cold, the ground in order to create an opening to which we could then use a vacuum unit to suck the subsoil out of the area at the base of the sundial to see what exactly we had down there and whether our plan would work. Unfortunately, we found that the finding was that the sonotube itself was not connected to the foundation as originally supposed to be, so that there was no way to sort of pick it up, and just having the sonotube meant we'd have this sort of difficult thing to try to get back into a foundation in some way. So after a good deal of discussion, it was decided we'd disassemble it and put it in storage. This was done in February because there was a very aggressive schedule for this dormitory, which had been supposed to have been started earlier, and then they moved it to this site to put it up. So here we are, had to clear quite a bit of snow from the site. Here's the memorial, and first thing we did is used a heat gun to try to soften up the polyurethane, being very careful not to cause great thermal shock to the stone. And this took some time to try to loosen elements. Then we applied a sort of a Rube Goldberg rig of 2x4s and bar clamps against the side of the upper portion of the thing and of the memorial, and lifted carefully, turned some, and to our great delight, after lifting judiciously, we actually lifted off both the echinus, the abacus, the top plate, the pin, and the sundial came off as a unit. Next, it was on to the base where we clamped the unit on the plinth. Again, we'd soften it up and tried to open up the adhesive a bit. Fortunately, it was cooperative and turned, and the column came free and was lifted off by the skid loader and set on pallets. We brush cleaned everything that we took up the best we could do in these temperatures, and everything was wrapped in bubble wrap, taped, and placed on pallets once again. There were 2 pallets, and we had a forklift that moved the pallets to a warehouse. So you remember the first pictures we saw of the disassembled memorial were in a warehouse on pallets, and here we are again back on pallets in a warehouse. When the stars align again and a suitable location can be identified, we truly believe that the World War II Memorial Sundial will return from oblivion one more time. Thank you.